Welcome, everybody. Captain Matt, Boat Buyers, Secret Weapon, and I want to welcome you to tonight's live. We are here. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, and got a few folks that I've been talking to. Hopefully, you've listened to the podcast last week. Michael Limpiski. Said, and I think I pronounced it right this time, he said, hey, it would be great to have a few folks on. There he is right there. Michael, good to have you. If you saw his podcast that went live a couple days, maybe it was before Thanksgiving even, or the day after, but he suggested having a few folks that had recently bought a boat beyond the podcast. So Michael's we did. I had to reschedule one because I forgot I was driving up to West Virginia for Thanksgiving. And then Brock, thanks for being here. Brock has been on the last 3 or 4 or 5, and he's from Charleston, and he's had an interesting buying experience, and he agreed and signed up for the podcast. So if anybody out there is listening, that would like to join me in a conversation, either one, to talk about your boat buying experience. You've already gone through it. It's been fairly recent. Maybe there's something specific, like Ronald from New York, a active NYPD up there was on, and he wanted to share an experience that he thought would be valuable for folks buying big cruisers. And then Michael and Brock, and I don't know why it's escaping me. Guy bought a Pontoon, but we're doing it tomorrow, and I just emailed him this afternoon, so I apologize that I'm forgetting it. But anyway, so just some interesting conversations. Or two, if you're a boat shopper that's in the process right now and you have some questions, you're like, hey, I would like to have, it's great to answer your questions on the live, but I would be fine sharing my conversation with the podcast listening world and the YouTube world, because here's what I found out is the questions that a first-time boat shopper asks is the same question that every other first-time boat shopper has going through their head, and having those conversations and just having somebody to bounce the questions off of is often real valuable. So, and Michael and I, we had a really fun conversation the other day before Thanksgiving. We had a really fun conversation, and he shared his, he ended up buying a new Yamaha jet boat. He had had bought a used stern drive. I believe it was a Chaparral, if my memory served me right, and had some issues with it that came up in the second year, but stayed in boating, made some different decisions on his second boat. And we had a fun conversation. And I think for folks that are in a similar situation, younger family, he was Raleigh area, I believe, and has moved to the coast since then, where he has family. And it was a good conversation for a younger family looking to get into boating, maybe considering a jet boat, maybe boating at the coast, and in the different environments that he's at. Brock's, I know, is going to be a great conversation, and I think that's already scheduled. I just do whatever's on my calendar, so I think that's already scheduled for later this week. And then the other one that we have set up is I'm doing it tomorrow at like 11. So somewhere I've got his name, and I know he's got a Harris. He ordered a Harris, and we're going to talk through that. So all right. So if you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the comments, and I will get to it December 10th. Okay, yeah, I knew we had it scheduled, so um, I saw it come through. So Matt F. If you have a chance, could you please talk about rebuilding a boat that sunk at the dock versus buying a new used boat for the same price? Okay, so I I have some thoughts on this. With that said, I've never rebuilt a boat, so I've never restored a boat. I can do just enough to save myself, several $100 to fix this, $1,000 to fix that. I can winterize. I can do the basic stuff. But when it comes to really diving in and rebuilding a boat, I'm going to reference you to a couple places that I think you're going to get more detailed. But I'm going to give you some thoughts on it. The first is Aaron at Born Again Boating. His YouTube channel. He has rebuilt transoms. He has rebuilt floors. He has rebuilt sunken engines, and he is a legit resource for somebody that wants to know how to do this thing to this type of boat, this type of motor. He's awesome. And then Andy at Boatworks, something Boatwork, something Boatworks, is an expert. I don't know these guys personally, but I watch their channel and I respect their knowledge, and the way they share it is interesting, entertaining, and damn, they've got just they get it. So I don't have any problem recommending them. But Boatworks Today is the name of his channel, and he is a fiberglass guy. So he can talk about laying up fiberglass, rebuilding transoms, rebuilding stringers, and all of that. But here is my thoughts on rebuilding a boat. It kind of depends on what you mean by rebuilding, but if it is a structural rebuild, so soft floor, soft transom, delamination, different spots in the hull, if those types of things, from my experience of being around boats, from listening to these other experts that I just cited, Born Again Boating, Dangar Marine is another really good one, and Boatworks Today. There's always more under the surface than what you see. So what looks like maybe a simple issue, you're probably going to find some other stuff that you're going to have to dig into, and it's a time-consuming project. It can get expensive, and I talk about this on my video of buying an older used boat, things to look out for, because this is often a common one that can come up in those types of conversations. And the third thing is, when it's all said and done, do you have the time and the money? And then when it's all said and done, what's the boat worth when you're through with it? So you put all this money to restore it. Could you have bought that used boat for the same price? Now, when you say rebuilding a boat that sunk at the dock, now, Matt F., if you would tell me what kind of boat, it sounds like you've got a very specific situation. So tell me what kind of boat, what kind of motor, what the age is, and give me that information. And I'm gonna just kind of talk about some things here that you might want to consider. So when you're looking at a boat that's sunk at the dock, so how long was it under? How did they handle it when they pulled it? So did they get it drained right away? How did they handle that situation, and what did they do with it afterwards? Um, so a friend of mine, matter of fact, I helped him winterize it just last week or 2 weeks ago. His boat sank at the dock. It was under for a day. They caught it right away. They got it pulled. They drained it right away. And so when I looked at it with them, it only rose up to the starter. Said replace the starter, replace the batteries, and we're going to do all the other checks that we do that I talk about in the First Time Boat Buyer Academy, that I talk about in the show you to go through the toolkit. And we went through all of those steps. Okay. And I said, listen, James, I'm there could be an issue where the water seeped in to the stringer system in the engine mount. It was such a short period of time that I think you're pretty good. It was a 2007, and I said, go ahead and do it. But you could see where the water line was. I could see that the starter would have been submerged, but everything else was fine. And I had a really good sense. I ran the boat. I put it through a bunch of things, bought it from a reputable dealer where I know the owner, and the sales guy knew me. I didn't know him, and I test drove it with him. We did all of the things that needed to be done, and he's run it all year. Ran perfect until the day we winterized it. There was a leftover issue from this going down, which was corrosion on their battery cable on the switch. So all it was a little bit of corrosion, a little bit of rust. We cleaned it right off. We tightened everything up, and problem solved. So, about an hour of diagnosis, about an hour of fixing, and he was back in business with no issues. If it was, okay, so here we go. All right, so it's an outboard, an '04 Sailfish 266 center console. Boatyard said engines are dead, under for about a week. Okay, so engines are gone. So you've got two. You said engines are dead, so you've got twin 200s, probably 250s, maybe. I don't know what's on there. Half under. It was on its side. Okay, so here's what's happened, and it was under for a week. So that salt water has gotten in everywhere there was wiring. In a week's time, that salt water has had some impact on every connection, on every terminal, on every exposed section of wire, and maybe even had a chance to really kind of seep into the wiring. So there's issues there. If you have electrical problems, could be a major nightmare trying to get to everything that you need to get to, rerunning wires. You've got to replace both motors, which figure that into the cost of ownership, because it can be difficult, especially right now, to get new motors, especially Yamaha outboards, which I'm assuming that Sailfish had on it. And then the next thing is, okay, it was on its side, so everywhere there was a hole through that gel coat into the structure of the hull, it is a potential area where water was seeping in, and getting into that '04, which they were still probably using some wood that would be susceptible to rot. So, the cleats, it's not the through hull fittings where they do a good job of, hey, this may be underwater, so we're going to seal it up real good. This is all topside stuff and inside of the boat, which is not as waterproofed. So I'm going to say be very, very careful with that, unless really twin 150s. Okay, so price those out, and it's something that I would be very, very cautious. That's a lot of red flags in my mind. And compared to buying another used boat where you don't have that issue, I know that sometimes in this market, you're like, we're having a hard time finding a boat, and you find one like this. It's a great deal. Man, all we got to do is we replace the engines, and we got a boat. We're going to get a good deal on it. There's too many things in my mind that can be problematic. And if you don't have the space to do the work, it's going to take twice as long and probably twice as much to do all this stuff. I've got a guy lined up from somewhere on the Carolina coast that does restorations on center consoles. I wish I had that podcast done. And these are the types of questions that I wanted to ask him about different situations like this on restoring a boat, what you come into. But I'm going to say, without knowing all the details, I'm going to say there's a lot of red flags, and I'm probably, unless I'm really competent in my skills, I'm gonna pass. Is probably my thought. Now, if you've got a place to do the work, you're very competent, you got all the tools, you've got the know-how, and you've got the time to do it, maybe that's a different story. But just twice the time, twice the money, and If those all come together and you say, okay, still a good deal, then maybe jump into it. And if you like that kind of stuff, that's not my cup of tea. So if you're a person that really enjoys a restoration project, it's a little bit different. I'm willing to put a little bit more money into it because I get a lot of personal satisfaction and joy out of it. Okay, just go in with your eyes wide open and look for everything that you can. Tap the hole. At this point, depends on how long ago it was under. You may not have the delamination, but you can probably tell where water intrusion has got in. And so I would definitely do that part. Okay. Thank you for that question, Matt. Like the last thank you, Moses. I appreciate it. First time boat buyer who rents often. Look at jet boats when I'm ready next year. Hey, Moses, I love when people rent boats before they buy it. I think it gives you a really good sense of what you like about boating, what you're going to do on the water, what you don't like about boating, where you're going to go, and it really helps you zero in on the right style, the right options, all of those things. So that's smart. Whether you knew that's what you were doing, is you were really dialing in the right thing that led you to the jet boat. I encourage you to go listen to the podcast that we did with Michael. And I encourage you to, if you haven't yet, watch the All About Jet Boats video. I think that would be interesting for you, if not valuable. Um, Nay Leo on the Fish 210. So I love when it comes to jet boats. I think Yamaha, by the sheer fact that they own 90% of the market, that their reliability of their engines is rock solid, and the financial situation of the company and the dealer network is just entrenched. I think Yamaha Jet Boat is probably the way to go for most people, unless you got just a crap Yamaha boat dealer in your market area, and that's going to be a bad situation. The Rotax engine, it's got some really cool options on it. It does some cool things, but I'm still just not 100% sold from what I keep hearing, that there's issues that's not as reliable. But I've also had some people that say they love their Scarab and love their Vortex. But for me, Yamaha's the way to go. With that said, I just inspected a Yamaha Fish, two of them last week. Um, I was not impressed. I was not impressed with the layout. I was not impressed with some of their design options. And these were 2022 models that I looked at, and they just had some weird cutouts, a triangular shaped live well, bait well, which was that's a bad option if you're really going to fish. Now, if you just like the center console layout and you're going to go out cruising, I think you're fine. But as a true fishing boat that you're going to use at the coast, um, I don't know. I was disappointed in what I saw on the 2022 models. I wish I had my camera. I didn't take pictures. I left it in my truck. I just stopped by this dealer to talk to some guys I knew, and I inspected the Nautic Stars. I inspected their Yamaha jet boats that they had, and a couple of the new Harris pontoons. And I was unimpressed with the Yamaha Fish. With that said, it's a good value for that style of boat. The other thing, Nay Leo, is how are you going to use it? So, um, if you're going to use it just to cruise around, and you're going to use it like, for doing some water sports, and just running around, going to the sandbar, then okay, you're good, because then the fishing layout, the fishing options aren't that big a deal. You just like that center console setup. Um, but if you're going to do some near shore or offshore fishing, I prefer the outboards, because I prefer to have the trim and tilt. so I can trim my engine and adjust the angle of attack of my bow to get it the bow high and to ride higher in the water. And also, that prop is going to be deep in the water and it's going to dig in. So as I'm hitting the waves, I'm always going to have that propeller in, and I think that is a good thing if you're really going to do some fishing and you're going to go a little bit offshore. So let me know where you're at. Let's see here if you commented anything. Um, really? Okay. Doing that for years. The idea is that fish can swim in circles, less prone to run. Yeah, that's why, Brock. I always the round live wells is what I look for, not the square, but the live, because fish are gonna school and swim in circles, and I would assume that triangle. Well, maybe not. That triangle would put them in the corner, but interesting. Okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing that. Um, let's go back here. So those are some of the things to think about on that on the center console. Um, it just like I said, I don't know. I wasn't impressed with a couple of the things on it, and but the triangle shaped live well was one of them. Our bait well was one of them. So I'm not a fisherman, and so Brock, I appreciate you sharing that because that's valuable information for me to know as well. All right, so let's go to Michael, it depends if it's reported to the insurance. If it's imported to the insurance, they have a national database where they're supposed to report that kind of thing. Now, there's no penalty if you don't. There's no benefit if you do. It's just you're supposed to, and it's the national um, the people at Boat History Report, Caroline Mantell, who I know has been on the podcast. She was on the U.S. Boat Expo, which I just released all of the most popular, the best videos from the expo for free on the on a playlist on my YouTube channel. So you can go check those out. But they championed a national database in the U.S. of all stolen vessels, salvage titles, and accident reports through the insurance that can be reported to by dealers, insurance companies, law enforcement. And I forget the name of it, but it's like National Safe Boating. It's like a 7-letter long acronym that she says it in the video, in the U.S. Boat Expo video, and I talk about it in the Boat History Report because I think those are it's a good, hey, one more lowering of the risk with for whatever $50 or less, but it's not 100% guaranteed. So it's going to lower the risk because it's going to find some stuff, but it's not going to eliminate that type of risk of, hey, it's never been sunk. And if it sank, they didn't have to call in CETO, they didn't have to turn it into insurance, and they just got it out, put it on the trailer, and hauled it home. Then no, that's not going to be on. That's not going to be on a boat history report, or there's three or four other of them that do that same thing for about the same price. Boat from a now dead guy. Can't find the receipt. What are the options? Okay. ZKR 99. You sent me a picture of your boat at one time. I know you've been a long time listener for the channel. So tell me what you are now dead guy. Can't find the receipt. What are the options? So hopefully you get a bill of sale, a bill of sale, or they sign the title for the boat, motor, and trailer over to you. The next thing you would want to do, oh man, if I remember, you bought that boat because you saved, like, I want to say $3,000 with the magic money saving question that's in the First Time Boat Buyers Academy. And if I'm thinking of, if you're the person I'm thinking of. But give me a little bit more detail on the what's and the wheres. Okay, so you have a signed title. What is the issue that you're trying to address? Are you having a hard time getting it registered? Tell me what that looks like, and I'll come back to your question because I definitely need more there. Um, Good, Matt F. I'm glad that was helpful. Definitely check out those channels and maybe go watch the on the channel. Let's see here. I just put it out. Um, it is this one: tips for buying older boats. Tips for avoiding headaches buying an older boat. I talk a little bit more detail about it, and I've not scripted it out, but I've got my bullet points, so it might be a little bit more concise than what I do on these live Q&As, where I just kind of dip into my knowledge and then do things like give in an uninformed information, which Brock helped with. And again, that's why I like doing the interview styles on the podcast and having folks comment because I don't fish. I'm not a fisherman, so I've got to go to my knowledge from what I've learned from other folks. And I'd never heard of a triangle live well, and I saw that on it looks goofy, but I saw it on the Yamaha fish, and I was like, what the hell are they doing? So thank you for straightening me out on that, Brock. And I look forward to talking to you more on the 10th. The TR1 engine on the 210 is underwhelming. My only concern has to spin up high. Yeah. Taking one for a drive if possible. Yeah. Michael's got the 195 SX, if I remember right. It's so that's a 19-foot. And usually on the 21, they'll start. Shoot, is that right? Does the AR21 have twins? Shoot, I don't remember. I don't remember because I didn't open the engine hatch on the ones I was on a 21 and a 23, and but yeah, having the right power for those is key. And trying to get a test drive right now, especially in Yamaha boats, I think they're getting well, I say caught up, but they canceled last year. They canceled like 5 or 6 thousand deposited orders on the 2021 models, saying that they weren't going to be able to get them built, and they were going to be 2022s. And I don't know how many of those people kept their deposits on, but I know they lost several folks. So thank you for that, Michael. I appreciate your input there. How do boaters gain horsepower? Chad, I know there used to be some I don't even know what they call it for sure, but where you upgrade the software to pull more horsepower out of them. Um, from what I understood a couple of years ago, there was either some lawsuits or a threat of being sued, and the company that did that um, had the software, had the chip, or however it's done. Um, they stopped doing it. And I want to say it was a year, maybe even 2 years ago now. So I don't know, other than actually upgrading engines, I don't know of anything that's out there. I know there used to be something out there. And from what I understood is the whoever one of the manufacturers likely kind of put the kiboshes on it, and now they've sort of gone away. Yeah, they were flashing something. So if anybody else has any insights on that, chime in the comments. I would appreciate that. Okay, so 75% cruising, 25% fishing. So you kind of got where I was going with that, Nay Leo. So hopefully that's valuable. Let's see here. Yeah, that's and it's with the fishing being 25%. Think about, and I don't know, Nay Leo, I don't know what kind of water you're in. If you're freshwater, saltwater. I'm gonna guess saltwater since you like that center console. Maybe you just like the thought of it, and the looks of it or something. But I'm gonna guess you're a saltwater guy. And then where's that 25% fishing going to be done? Is it inshore? Is it near shore? Is it offshore? And If it's offshore, I think it's the wrong choice for sure. If it's near shore, inshore, then it kind of matters what type of water you're in my mind. Okay, let's see. All right. DMV is being a pain. All right. So um what you if you just have that, if you don't have a signed purchase agreement, maybe you can go back to the estate. Maybe you can go back if there's a spouse or somebody involved to get something notarized, and use their power of attorney, um, from the family, the attorney. I don't know what their situation is, but from the estate, we'll call it. That might be, and you can go ahead and just print off from Google boat bill of sale and make sure you've got the whole identification number, the ID of the boat, the engine serial number, and the trailer VIN number, the vehicle identification number, all three of those on there. And then see if you can get the family, the estate, the attorney, whoever, to to use the power of attorney to get it signed. So usually every state's a little bit different, but usually it's I need the signed title and proof of purchase, which is the bill of sale or purchase agreement if it's from a deal or something like that. Um, Pay my sales tax. Got it. You got it years ago. Okay. Um, gotcha. Gotcha. So yeah, that's going to be my best suggestion. I don't have anything better than that um, for it. True. Is it true with a twin jet? If you need to run on one engine, you need to block off the water intake, flood the motor. I don't know. Hux. Good to see you again. And I appreciate you always commenting on the videos. I don't know. I sold them we had them for 3 or 4 years. The Yamaha boats. That's the dealership I stopped in was the one I used to work for, or one of their stores anyway, not the one I was at. I don't ever remember telling people that. I don't ever remember that coming up in any of my training or reading of the manuals. I would go to a Yamaha manual to find that out. And Hux, I think you have your boat now. I know, but I would go to the manual because I'm not sure. Block one of the engines, the water intake. I would think it would just flow right through the system. Um, I would think it would just flow right through the system and not trying to think how it works. It's going to suck it in the intake, run it through. The impeller's not going to be turning, but it's going to just shoot right out the nozzle. It's just not going to have any force behind it. So, um, yeah, I don't want to give you the wrong answer on that one, but I don't think so. But again, look at the manual because that's one that if I am wrong on it, it's going to be a bad situation. So don't take anything I say on this one. Um, 210, okay, is twin, but they're the 110 engines. Gotcha, gotcha. Um, is 180. Yeah, and thank you. That's one thing I love about the community that comments in the videos and that joins these, is that there's so much knowledge out there on very specific boats, very specific things that I may not have that exact knowledge, like the triangle shaped live wells, like the engines. Michael just went through and took delivery of his boat, and he went through way more research than I ever could on any particular model or brand. Yeah, so I appreciate that for sure. Yeah, it's true. Okay, Michael. Yeah, Michael's got the manual. So that is, I knew I didn't want to give the wrong answer there. You flash the ECU. Say you had a 200, you could flash it to a 250 and pick up 7,500 horsepower. So 7,500, 75-ish horsepower. So yeah, there was a company that did that, and if you go to, I don't remember who asked that question, but if you go to the whole truth, you can find the old threads of that where they're talking about it and where they are. People asking, how do I do it? They give the company, and then you'll find the thread of where the legal issues set in and something happened and they backed out of that market. So for whatever reason, back in the two-stroke days, you could change pistons up the compression, swap carbs, drill out the port, exhaust most of the time, pick up 50 horsepowers or so. Yeah, so that kind of thing, that's getting way outside of my level of expertise, Brock. And so I appreciate you sharing that. And it depends. Yeah, it depends on what your Chad. It was Chad that had that. Chad. So it depends on which engine you're looking at, what type, what year, and the specifics. So back in the two-stroke, okay, got that. Sounds like a pain. Yeah. That bill of sale is, if you can track that down, that's what you really need. Or um, here's what I found in dealing with issues like this is find the right DMV person on the right day, and they will. You can get things done that maybe are, so you get them on a bad day, and you've got to have all your I's crossed and T's dotted, or whatever the saying is. You get them on a good day, or the right one on a good day, is you can get stuff put by that you get turned down. So maybe take in a homemade pie or something like that, some brownies, and see if you can get them on your side, and then say, all right, what do I need to do this? And maybe they can help you out and give you a good idea, because the DMV and the DNR people that process this paperwork is, they tend to be underappreciated throughout a lot of their lives. And so if somebody is kind to them and somebody is understanding and treats them nicely, they sometimes will help you out. I've watched the jet boat breakdown you did. Amazing. One concern I have is buying a Yamaha. Thank you, Moses. I appreciate that. Underpower, Hudson River, Long Island, IOs used around me. I think Moses, I'm going to go back to Michael's recommendation of if you do go that direction, is the upgraded horsepower. I'm going to say that, let's see, here's another comment. Go check out Captain Leo's jet boat channel. He's on Long Island. Awesome. I've never heard of that one. Captain Leo's jet boat channel. So that might be a great resource for you. And the local boating, Long Island Sound, the Hudson River, you've got some decent chop up there, I would imagine. I've never actually run on the water there, but I've been in the area. I know some dealers that are up that way, and I believe it's a fairly rough area, which I kind of mentioned it with the offshore, is having your jet nozzle is right at the bottom of the transom, and it's above the keel. The stern drive or the outboard is going to be down below there we go, into the water a little bit, and it gives you a little bit better grab. You allow it to change the angle of the bow, so you can take the waves smoother and lighten up that chop. But that would be the only thing I could think of that about not seeing many up there. But I don't know. It's go check out that channel that Michael mentioned. Recently bought 11 Glastron fishing ski. Cleats are poorly laid out for hanging my fenders, adding some Fender Pros. I'm not familiar with Fender Pros. Let me see here. Fender Pros boats. Let's see what pops up here. Oh, I thought you misspelled that. Sorry about that. Quick release fenders. Okay. Yeah, those I'll tell you, I don't know if it's this brand, Mark, but my father-in-law has this setup on his $100,000 Cobalt. So they use this style on the Cobalt. I'll tell you what I like about it and what I don't like about it. What I like about it is it's easy. Hey, I when we're out there, I I have my girls do the work. They get to handle the lines. They get to put the fenders out. They're even starting. They're 7 and 10. My youngest one, she likes to do the cleat hitch and get it tied up and help me with that. And so it's a good learning responsibility. Being cautious and knowing some stuff. So I really enjoy that. And so it's really easy for them to put these quick release fenders on. What I don't like about it is two things. One is you've got this big metal thing that is kind of flopping around when they're not in use, and it can be, it can scratch things up if you're not cautious with it. And again, I've got a 7 and 10-year-old that are doing this on my father-in-law's $100,000 boat, and I don't want them to be the reason for a scratch. So that's one thing. And two is there's times when I don't like where they're mounted, when I'm helping tie up the boat and, we've got a pontoon on one side and a piling and a section of dock on the other side, is where those are mounted, and they're mounted in the right spots 90% of the time. But those times when we get to a place and they're not mounted in the right, now I've got this big long, I've got my rope, the fender whip attached to this piece right here. And let me blow that up so you guys can see it. Attached to this piece right here, and now I can't tie off on a railing. I've got to undo that to tie it and get that fender exactly where I want. That's what I don't like. So what I would prefer is, have my fenders that are going to go on there, and then have another set of fenders where I can just have a loose fender whip, and I can tie those off. On a 20-foot fishing ski, you don't have enough room to have, 6 fenders on there. So maybe the option is just to do, and I don't have a rope in here. I've got this. Let me see if I can do this and you can see. All right. So if you have a railing, in your bow, is you can do a half hitch. Let's see if I can do this here. You can do a half hitch like that. And now I've never done a rope tying lesson. You can do a half hitch that looks like this. And now you can hang it wherever you want. And I'm putting a decent amount of pressure on there, and it won't come off. And if you're worried about it, you can even do a half hitch with the 2 half hitches. So then you just do one more half hitch, and it's not going to go anywhere. That, depending on what kind of railings and things you have, either of those options could be good for you. And again, as far as, they use them on Cobalt, in my mind, is the top brand in that category of just a runabout, a bow rider. But that's what I like and don't like about them. Where was I? Okay. Concern I have buying a Yamaha would be underpower. Okay. Got that. I'm losing all my spot here. That's awesome that we got so many comments coming in. Got that. Interesting. Okay. So he fishes from the SX model. Consider dual upgraded power. Okay. Awesome. Michael, glad you found me. That's good. But hey, there's like I said, I've never heard of his channel, but I recommend Born Again Boating and Boatworks Today and Dangar Stew's channel all the time, because there's, I've got a lot. I've said this before, but I've got a lot of boating experience in a lot of different areas. But compared to all the boating experiences out there, all the different brands and models and fishing and saltwater and freshwater and rivers and big boats, little boats, outboards, inboards, stern drives, 2 strokes, 4 strokes. I don't know it all. And I try to flashing engines and getting more horsepower, I try to stay in my lane and not give advice if I don't have a really good idea. Okay, so any suggestions on how to attach a grill? Paneling goes to the top. So, Mike, what Bennington model do you have? So there's a couple of things that you can do. Um, they've got the seat or the clamp, which isn't going to work for you because you go to the top. Um, They've got the pedestal mounts. If you can mount it off the back, if you've got, I call it a back porch or a front porch, you can mount it there on some type of a angle so that the drippings are going to go into the water versus onto the decking. So those would be a couple of things to think about. Let me do this here. Pontoon grill mount. Let's not do that. Let's go to images. All right, so I'm just on Amazon. So this is that pedestal mount, and they make a pedestal mount that is angled. Um, let's see if there's anything that jumps out at me. I don't know of anything that. Oh, here you go. Um, if you can mount it off the door, that might be that might be an option if the gates have a little bit different setup on it. I'm not really sure. Um, Here we go. This is that angle. You can see that angled mount there. That's really the only thing I can think of that. But I haven't seen anything that screams to be the answer. Um, where you're going to have a nice stable base. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mike. I don't have anything. Let me do a little bit of research. Mike, I know you've been on several times. I've seen your name in the comments. Shoot me an email at captain at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com and show that baby captain at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com. Shoot me an email there and I'll poke around because I've got a few different uh magazines or what am I looking for? Um, magazines, parts and accessory books that I've got from different dealers that I'll look through there and look through a few different resources that might not be as easily found and see if there's something that jumps out at me on that. Let's see here. Boat channel. Grill. All right. So I did nothing for Mike. Um, yeah, hopefully the boat shows are hopefully the boat shows are going to kick off. If you heard that, I don't think I've talked about this, but um, the National Marine Manufacturers Association, I think I sent it out in an email, canceled 5 of their biggest show. They canceled Chicago, they canceled Atlanta, they canceled Nashville, they canceled Baltimore, I want to say, and one other one, but they canceled 5 major shows because of, my guess is not enough competition or not enough participation from the dealers in those areas. All those channels. Thank you. Watch yours often. Thank you, Moses. I appreciate it. Um, Solar cooker. I don't know what that is. I'm gonna check this out. See what's going on. If you got any other solar cookers. Portable solar cooker. Use the sunlight in a little 10 minutes. No fuel or open flame needed. Interesting. I have not ever seen this. I'll have to check those out. Thank you, ZKR99. Um, I'll definitely have to check those out. Had not seen those before. All right. So you're welcome, Mark. You're welcome. I wish I had a little bit more for you. Let's see, John. All right, talk about the different classes, quality of center console, Scout, Key West, Boston Whaler. So the first thing is go to my channel and watch the video of, where is it? Best and worst center consoles. This one right here. Um, that is a almost an hour long video where I go through the center it's the main production center consoles that they were all at the indoor section of the Charleston, South Carolina boat show. Scout, Key West, and Whaler are in there. Differences in fiberglass build, how they affect longevity. So here's John, here's what you can do is when you're looking at a boat, one of the first things that I do when I did this when I walked up on the Nautic Stars. I've never inspected a Nautic Star. I was at a dealership that had them when I was checking out the Yamaha jet boats. And first thing I do when I walk up on a boat is I pound the fiberglass, I pound the hull all the way down from the transom up and down, all the way to the bow. That's going to give you a really good idea of how thick that fiberglass is, how, you know, how strong the structure of it is. And that's one of the first things I do on every boat because there's so much that you just can't see because they start from the outside in when they build it. They lay the outside layer first, and then they start building in with the thickness, and then the stringers are covered by the deck, and you can't tell other than reputation and open up hatches and seeing as much as you can. But if you're looking for, in my mind, of those, it goes Whaler is the best constructed. Scout is probably the next, and then Key West is just right behind them. You'll also see it in the price. Boston Whalers are going to be the most expensive. Scout's going to be next, and then Key West will be next on a comparable size and equipped boat. Now, as far as would I take my family out on any of those into, you know, in decent conditions offshore fishing, you know, on a 25-foot, yeah, absolutely. I don't think there are any unsafe boats out there anymore. You know, the days of I could pound through and I could put a hole in the hull, a hole in the hull because they used just chopper gun and they didn't use any woven or matting or any other material other than chopper gun. Those days are gone. The production processes, the engineering that goes into them, the materials, they've just got a better handle on them. So I think the boats are safe. It's more about now how durable do you want? Are you okay with the ride of a Kia Sorento, or do you need the ride of a Lexus, or do you want the ride in the everything else that goes with the G Wagon? They're all SUVs, but the prices are going to vary, and it matters. Kind of, there's a personal preference to it too, because they're all safe. And now it's a matter of what's my budget look like? What is my personal preference? And you know, the layouts, and then the dealers. I talk about it a lot in this video. Best and worst center consoles, and all of my new boat videos is I'm going to narrow it down to a category, and I'm going to narrow it down to 3 or 4 brands that I like, and then I'm going to choose the dealer that I have the best relationship with, that I think is going to take care of me the best over the long haul. Because you'll hear it in every conversation with a new boat buyer is, hey, this dealer really took care of me. I just got an email from a guy the other day that bought a Barletta. If you've watched my best and worst pontoon videos, I think Barletta is the top in the game in that category. They build the stoutest, the best pontoon tri-tune on the market, in my opinion, because they do it different. They use heavier materials, all that. He said, love the boat, hate the dealer. He would have been happier buying still a premium, a Harris, a Bennington, a Manitou, but the dealer been better supportive of him. I think he would have been happier in the long run, and I think that goes for all new boat brands. No, if the dealer discounts I've seen several boat shows can be better than going to a local dealer. Do you know if the dealer discounts I've seen at several boat shows can be better than going to a local dealer? Again, I talk about this a lot in my new boat videos. Is I'm going to recommend going to the new boat dealer in your market area. So going to your local dealer, because of the reasons I just said, that the dealer can have a major impact on how happy you are ultimately with your boat over the long term, handling warranty issues, ticky-tacky things. And just that relationship is very, very valuable if you're buying a new boat. What I would do is you've got to make sure you're comparing boat to boat identical, because what you can see from one dealer is maybe they don't equip them the same way. Maybe there's something that they do or don't do that is going to reflect in the price. So that's number one. And two, I would get a printout. These days it's real easy. Take a picture of that price tag with all the options, get the haul ID number, because most manufacturers allow you to look up a haul ID number and see the build sheet. So, okay, it's a 23 foot with this motor and these options and this and that. And, the trailer they put under it, there can be a $2,000 difference between one trailer and another. If you do diamond, diamond plate and fancy wheels, and, does it have a ladder? Does it not have a ladder? A swing tongue, no swing tongue, whatever. So make sure that's all right. And then take it to my local dealer and say, hey, they did this. Now, if it's $500, probably going to pay the extra $500 and go to the local dealer. If it's $5,000, now I'm going to say, well, maybe I can deal with a little bit of pain in the ass and save the money, knowing that that local dealer isn't going to do crap for you when it comes to warranty. They're going to say, hey, you decided to buy it from this other person to save money. We have to support people that have spent 50 grand with us and bought boats from us. That's who we're going to put in the front of the line. And a lot of dealers, including the one I worked at, I didn't get it at first until I saw how understaffed the service department is in the busy season. Is, hey, the profit that they would have made on that boat went to that other dealer, and now you're asking them to support you. So you went there to get the better deal, and now you want the local service to be great. And it just doesn't work that way. If you, in one of my videos, I talk about it, what new boaters need to know. And if you go to my playlist and look at one of the new boat playlists, it'll be on this new boat center console one. I don't know where. But it is, yeah. Why 5 things buying a boat is different than buying a car. I talk about it in that one for sure. And I talk about it in another one, but it is, so you've got to make that decision. But it could be. The other thing, Moses, that can happen is dealers, depending on the manufacturers, every manufacturer does a little bit different, but dealers can get discounts if they pay cash. Dealers can get discounts on volume. Dealers can get discounts if they can go pick the boat up at the factory. So if you're a dealer that, for Sea Rays, for example, Sea Rays had $1,800 flat transportation fee that was put to every Sea Ray sport boat. Didn't matter if you were in Knoxville, Tennessee, and it was a 10-minute trip to drop that boat off. Or if you were in California, in the US, there was an $1,800 flat fee for transport. They wanted all dealers to have a level playing field. But you got a 5% cash discount, or I don't know, 3%, 2%, whatever it is, if you paid cash. So that means you didn't finance it. And you, I don't know why that was, but it was just the way they did it. And then if you hit different tiers, if you were a gold level, a medallion level, or a platinum level, whatever they are, I don't remember off the top of my head, then you got additional price discounts. So there's a possibility on a $50,000 boat that one dealer gets it for 3, 4, 5 grand less than another dealer, if they, if they have a lot of volume, if they pay cash, and if they, could potentially go get it from the factory, if they do pricing of transport based on the actual cost. So it certainly can be there. There's just a lot of variables in if that's what's going on, or if you just need to negotiate more with the local dealer. All right. You're welcome, John, and thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Um, yeah, I just came up with. I added the G wagon. I've been told that my what was I using? I was using Ford Explorer, and people are like, ah, that's you're way off on that. So thank you. I think I'll put that one back in my write it down to remember it. Um, Fortunately, not too many bolt power car unless you have a factory supercharged. Okay, that was the talking about upgrading the horsepower. Um, Moses, thank you very much. Um, I appreciate that. For it, I will answer every question within the hour, but there's a little dollar sign down in the comment section that if you get a ton of value out of this, it's one way to support what I do. The others is to invest in the programs where I give, you know, I try to give everything. Like I don't hold anything back in any of these answers. I hopefully you can tell that. But there is the negotiation piece in the First Time Boat Buyers Academy, and it's presented in a little bit more straightforward, easy way to understand than doing a YouTube video where I kind of got to play to get clicks. And the best pontoon captain on the lake. Those are different ways to support the channel, so I can continue doing this and providing this value. And Moses, I definitely appreciate that. Will prices ever return back to normal? I just want a 23-foot center console, light bay fishing, but don't want to pay 80 grand. I talk about this in a recent video, and it is called Don't Buy a Boat. No, that's not it. That's not it. It's a market update. There you go. Don't buy a boat now. This video right there. And here's, yes, is her to be violent. Here to be violent. I think that's what it is. Yes, I do think they're gonna level out. I can think of almost a dozen boat manufacturers right now that are increasing production, adding facilities, adding lines, building new factories. Pursuit has done it. Regulator has done it. Barletta has done it. Um, uh, those are just quick off the top of my head that I know of. I have new facilities. Crest. Um, anyway, there's a bunch of them. There's at least a dozen that have increased their capacity. They're saying, hey, demand is high. Some of this was in the works before COVID. Some of it has kind of come online since COVID, and the demand's gone up. And so at some point, they're going to overproduce because they always do it. And they're going to force the inventory on the dealers. Demand's going to come down or even stay flat. And eventually they're going to overproduce, and the demand isn't going to be there. And then prices are going to come down. The supply chain issues is having a true impact on the cost to build a boat right now. So container ships. My sister-in-law is in home goods, and she is responsible for ordering the goods from China and getting them sent over here so that they can sell them through their catalog. And a container used to be 5, 6, 7, $8,000 to get shipped over. Just no priority, no nothing, 25 grand or more to get a container shipped sent over here. That increases the cost to build it. Raw materials because of the shortages, the chips, the steel. I've got a friend of a family in-law friend of my in-laws in that family that goes to the lake, has a place in Lake Loudon in Tennessee. And he is the president of an aluminum company. And he said the true cost of them producing their material is going up, which is the raw material. So if you're building a pontoon boat, your aluminum tubes, your aluminum fencing, your aluminum rails, all of that cost is going up. Mercruiser are casting some of their blocks using aluminum. That cost, think of how much aluminum's in a boat. Price of gas goes up, price of petroleum goes up. Well, fiberglass is made of that material. That cost rises. The components, they can't build enough. Demand is going up. So cleats, stainless steel, battery switches, you name it, all of that's going up. So the price is going up. But I think all that's going to come down some. And yes, but I think it's going to be, 18 months to kind of get the backlog to 2 years, the backlog of production, and as long as nothing crazy happens in the economy. So in the next 3 years, I would say, okay, we're kind of going to have a normal price. How much is it going to come down? I don't know. But once that supply outdoes the demand, once they, there's hundreds of boat manufacturers. It's not like the auto industry where there's 12 major ones. There's hundreds of boat manufacturers, and they're like, hey, if I can get my little piece of the pie now and make hay while the sun shines, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to worry about overproducing later because we've only got a sliver of the market share. Even Bennington, probably only has 20% of the market share of pontoons. Sun Tracker may have 10, 15, 20%. And then there's another 40 pontoon manufacturers that are taking up the other, 60, 80%, whatever it is. And so they're like, there's going to be people buying. Maybe we can get it. Maybe we can just increase our market share a little bit. And we won't have that problem. But, every time they outproduce the demand, prices drop back down, they get to a certain level, and now they have a new baseline. And I think that's going to happen in 24 to 36 months, probably. So, again, thank you, Moses. Michael, thank you. I appreciate that. I've actually thought about, I don't drink a ton, but I thought about, what, I should have me some Bud Lights or some Ultras or maybe a Crown and 7 while I'm doing these, but who knows what the hell I might say then. So thank you so much. We bought our first boat, went to the dealer. A lot of info from you. Mike, you're very welcome. You are very welcome. That I'm happy to get the the support financially, but I started this channel not as here's a business I can do. I started this channel because I knew there was people that needed this information. When I sold boats, I created something like this. That was a boat buyer's guide that I gave to people in the area that just said, hey, here's how you buy a boat. Hopefully you buy it from me. I'm going to treat you right. And, I was a top producer because of that approach. And I really found that there wasn't anybody that was helping. Everybody was selling their product and saying, we've got the best, but nobody was saying, here's how to decide what's right for you. Because Cobalt, in my mind, is the best. Barletta is the best in their category. But Bayliner is perfect for some people. Sun Tracker is perfect for some people, but you need to know how to evaluate it and compare. So, all right, we're over an hour now. We're hour and 10 minutes. So put in your last couple questions, and I'm going to call it quits for the night. Hopefully you guys all had a great Thanksgiving, but we'll wrap it up here soon. Thanks for the support in the comments, guys. Regarding wear and tear, I feel a slip would be a good investment. Do boats tend to get more erosion from the elements versus trailering? So, Moses, a couple of factors that come in play. I think you said you were from Long Island, so you're brackish at best, probably saltwater, depending on where you're going to be. So here's my tier, and I need to do a video. I've got the footage. I just need to put it together. But I've got an idea for a video. Here's the best in my mind, um, storing your boat. So there's ease and there's cost. You got to balance those out. But indoor rack storage. So they put your boat in and out with the forklift. You call up and say, "Hey, I'm going to be at my boat," or you show up at the marina and say, "Splash, A27." They go with the forklift. They go into think of it like a rack. They go, grab it off the shelf, put it in the water, tie it up on the dock. You load your cooler and you head out. It's going to be fairly expensive, but I think that's ultimately the best because you get it out of the water, you get it out of the elements, but you have easy access to it. You don't have to do any work. They sometimes will pull the covers off for you depending on what level of service your marina gives. It's going to be fairly expensive, hard to come by. There's not a lot of those in every area. You have them up there in your area, I'm pretty sure, Moses. Next is in the water on a lift. So I've got a slip, but I've got a lift that's going to lift that boat out of the water, especially important in saltwater, especially on the type of boats that you're talking about, Moses. So brackish water, you say, um, a fiberglass boat in brackish water and even fresh water is you're going to have to pull that boat once a year to get that bottom scrub. It's going to get growth on it, even in a season up there in New York. So you got 4 months, maybe 5 months if you really stretch it. You're going to get a growth on your bottom, maybe barnacles in that brackish water, depending on what type of things are growing there, and you're going to have some extra maintenance if you leave it in the water. If it's up on a lift, you've got the ease. You hit the button, drops you in the water, load up, go out, come back, put it on the lift, raise it up, spray it off with fresh water, and you're good to go. Leaving a boat like that in brackish water, there's extra maintenance on the motor, extra maintenance on cleaning it. The cheapest is to trailer it. And it's also great for the boat because you're keeping it out of the water. There's a little bit more skill involved, which will come with time. I've got my Trailer Like a Pro program that will shorten the curve, but it's really a matter of practicing and knowing a few key things to get you there. I was a trailer boater growing up, and as my brother and I got to be 13, 14, 15, 16, we did it all. My brother would back it down. I would drive the boat, and we could have the boat unloaded in about 2 minutes. We could have it loaded in about 3 minutes, and it was easy when you know what you're doing. And then the great thing about that, we kept it in the driveway so we could do all the maintenance right there. If you've got an indoor shed, that's better. If you got to keep it outside in the elements, it's you got to do what you got to do. Maybe you got to put an extra coat of wax on it. So it's that balance. And Moses, this might prompt me to get that video actually made and done. But it's going to be more of a editing than I usually do. So hopefully that is valuable. Mako, a good boat. Eduardo, depends on the year. So Mako made some of the best boats going for a long period of time. White River Marine bought them. So that's Bass Pro Shop, Tracker Marine. That company, White River, is the parent company, bought the Mako brand. They sell them through their Bass Pro. And now, they're a good boat. They are, like I said before, if you were listening, Eduardo, is there's no such thing as an unsafe boat anymore because of the construction quality. Running the wrong boat, the wrong conditions for sure, but because of the construction, no, there's not an unsafe boat in my mind. But Mako is premium, mid-tier, and value. I'd put Mako in the value category because of the way they build them now. And I don't know, without doing some research on what year that happened, that they were bought and things kind of changed. But the newer ones, I'll say, are in the good category. There are people that will spend a lot of money to get an old school Mako hull, put a new motor on it, and do some refurbishing. And they're supposed to be amazing. I've never run one personally, but They're supposed to be amazing. Um, Videos deposit on a 252 SD. Congratulations on that. Um, Andy, um, uh, here's my big one, and I got this from a guy the other day. He commented on a video, asking a similar question about the quality control and ordering a boat and getting it. And I typed out the whole long answer after Thanksgiving dinner, watching a movie with the in-laws, and I went to hit publish, and it all disappeared. So if this is you, I'll come back and I'll answer it in text. If it's not, here you go. So the key is on an ordered boat is know that boats are very much handmade, and just because it's a brand new boat, don't just write the check, sign the paperwork, and say thank you very much. Say thank you very much. I'm excited about this. Let me inspect the boat and let's run through a quick sea trial, so that you can train me on the boat, make sure that everything's as it needs to be. Have you guys done a shakedown run already? Good. Hopefully they have. They've run the boat on the Yamahas. They may do a little bit. There's not a whole lot that Yamaha asks the dealers to do, but they still need to put the batteries in, and they should run that boat according to the delivery checklist, the PDI, pre-delivery inspection checklist. As a buyer, I'm going to say, hey, thanks. I'm going to inspect the boat. I'm going to go through it as if it was a used boat, and I'm going to look for anything that's loose, anything that's off, a hatch that doesn't close properly, scratches in the gel coat, anything that is anything that's not quite right. Then put it in the water. Say, hey, let's run this boat through its paces real quick. So I'm going to go make sure that it sounds right. I'm going to run it through all the RPM ranges. And I'm going to make sure I run through as much chop as I can. I want that boat pounding, and I want to see what's going to loosen up. I want to see what's going to shake loose, what's going to not be fitting right at the end of the trip. So I want to hit as many bumps and bumps as I can, because that's the shakedown that a new boat needs to go through. And I'm going to run it through that. I'm going to come back to the dock, and if everything's good, I'm going to say, great, let's sign. Here's the money. If there's anything that's off, I'm going to say, great. How are we going to address this? This doesn't work. This wasn't quite right. This isn't what I ordered, whatever. And then you're going to say, if it's a major issue, you're going to say, how about we wait on the paperwork until this is fixed? And you let me know when it's fixed. I'll come in and I'll sign the paperwork. If it's a minor issue, you say, hey, this isn't that big a deal. I know that you just got to make some minor adjustments. Let's do this. When can you have this fixed? How will it be taken care of? When do you guarantee it'll be taken care of? Let's write that on the contract. Windshield needs adjustment. Bow seat needs tightened screws. Whatever it is, put it on the contract. It'll be fixed by this date. Let's go ahead and now I'll sign the paperwork and I'll give you the money. But now I've got it on the contract that they're going to have to do these things. If it's a huge issue, you say, this is not the boat I ordered. I would like my deposit back because of this, that, and the other issue. And it's got to be major, and most likely it's not going to be, especially on a Yamaha. It's probably not going to be major, but that's the way I would approach it. And hopefully that's the question you're asking, is how to handle that part of it. Buy our first boat, fishing family that you recommend. We want to buy our first boat. Let it be fishing and family that you recommend for us. There's Harley Rider. There are too many questions. There's too many questions to get into this right now. I don't know what your budget is. I don't know where you're boating. I don't know how big your family is, what type of fishing that you're looking to do. There's a lot that goes into it. So here's what I will do is send me or go to www.boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/guest. And if you would like, boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/guest. And if you would like to jump on a conversation with me that we'll do for a podcast, and we can have that conversation. We're already an hour and 20 minutes into this. It's almost 10 o'clock where I'm at East Coast, and I'm going to wrap this up because I've been going for an hour and 20 minutes. But I would love to have the conversation because I think it's an interesting conversation to have with a first time boat buyer. And I would be happy to do that. So just go to that website and we will have that conversation. What's the cost after all the hidden fees? They will not do a sea trial. They won't let you run the boat before you take delivery. Now I know on Yamahas, I wouldn't do a demo when I was selling Yamaha. I would put a Sea Ray or a Harris or a Whaler or a Scout in the water and just run somebody on a demo. On the Yamahas, we had a no demo policy, but we had a what we called a demo delivery. So, hey, you want this boat? Great. 10% deposit locks it in for you, or we'll order it in this case. When the boat shows up, here's the deal. I'll put the boat in the water, you get to run it, and then we do the paperwork. And that's how we did it. And we sold a bunch of them. And that was the process that we were given by some other dealers that were really top level Yamaha dealers. So if hey, the day of closing, I would like to run this boat before we close. If they're not willing to do that, I mean, they're not pulling anything shady because Yamaha's a quality brand and all of that. But it seems odd to me that they wouldn't let you run it before you do the paperwork. Maybe you're at a place where there's no water nearby. But at a minimum, I would inspect that boat thoroughly and just make sure that everything is as you need it to be. And then, hey, I need you to at a minimum fire it up on a hose and at least let me hear it running. Um, so that would be you gotta figure out on $100,000 boat uh, that you would think that that's something that they would accommodate, um, and that's how I did it. So, um, all right, you're welcome on that. Harley Rider. I'll look for that to come through. It might even after you fill out the form, it might take you right to my calendar, and you can schedule it right on my calendar there. If not, when I get the notification that you filled it out, I'll send you a link to my calendar so that you can schedule it and we can jump on and have a full conversation. So, everybody, thank you very much for joining me. Um, Thank you for joining again today, and thank you to Michael, and thank you to Moses for the contribution. Do a short little commercial here. If you are, I sent the email out the other day about Rhonda, who said after she put the boat in the slip, she had a new Barletta pontoon, put the boat in the slip first time. The salesperson said, "I've never seen anybody in my 40 years of selling it that was able to do that the very first time with the pontoon." And she yelled out, "Best pontoon captain on the water." And then she sent me one the other day saying that her her husband and her daughter and herself went out and they were putting it on and off the trailer, and she said her husband and her daughter were trying to tell her what to do, and she kept telling them, "That's not how Captain Matt told me to do it." She unloaded the boat, and then when they loaded it up, she said they were just sitting there with their hands in their pockets, not saying a word, because I think they were a little scared of her. She said she missed the first attempt, and she got it right on the second attempt, and they boat somewhere off the Carolina coast. I think on a river maybe, but so that it's a great program, and there's a full money back guarantee, because if you're not happy, I will give you a refund, no questions asked. And then the Boat Buyers Academy, the probably the most valuable thing there is the negotiation question in step 5. But I go through new boat, used boat, how to do a sea trial, how to inspect a boat, and I go through all these different boats: a aluminum fishing boat, a center console, a bow rider, a pontoon, tri-tune, and talk through all that. So that's a great program as well. Thank you guys very much. I always enjoy it, and hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. We'll see you guys next week. Take care, everybody.